right. Stephie Smalls show is live. That little rat, Josh McDaniels, was finally fired. Everyone didn't think that was going to happen. Talk about that. Talk about the Raiders. Talk about the trade deadline. A little bit bleak there. Hit some smash or pass. Week 9 bets. Give out best bets for Thursday Night Football between Mayo Boy and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then round it out with 2 new segments, Powerless Bottoms and Fake Tops. But we got to bring on my first guest. I'm so excited. This is a former NFL player, host of Facts and the King podcast. Great follow on Twitter, Nate Collins, a.k.a. Dr. Facts. How's it going?
How's it going, Stephie? I appreciate you having me on. How are you today?
I'm good. It's been fun. You're a great follow on Twitter. That's how we originally linked up here. So it's nice to be able to get you on, have a little conversation, talk some ball.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I was happy when you reached out to me, and now we're doing it, so it's cool.
Yeah. So how was Halloween? You're a new dad. How old is your child? You're a new dad. You did the Halloween thing. You dressed up.
6 weeks. She's 6 weeks. Corey Renee Collins, and I'm ecstatic to be a dad. This was our first Halloween. Got to dress up. I'm definitely gonna push Pokemon on her. She's too young to really understand anything right now, but I'm a huge Pokemon fan. So if she got into Pokemon, that would be cool. And so her first Halloween outfits was she was a little Miralax, a little baby Snorlax. So Munchlax, sorry, a baby Snorlax, and my girl was a Pikachu, and we got our first taste of trick or treating with a little one.
I can't believe these kids don't know about Pokemon. Like, they missed out on some good times.
No, for sure. Like it's super nostalgic, and it's funny just to see what kids are into now, or just like you said, like my little cousins, there's certain things that I'm just like, what is that? Like, what are these new kids? Like, what are you guys locked into? But TikTok's changed everything for the younger generation, I feel like.
Yeah. And I don't want to be like you as you get older, you don't want to be like this cranky older person that's like, oh, this generation. Yeah. But it's weird, even from like a football standpoint and a fan standpoint. I think with fantasy football and betting too, honestly, some of us were betting earlier than we maybe should have been doing. But with legal betting, it seems like these kids are leaning more into like being player fans versus being fans of just a team the way that we would be super loyal growing up.
To be honest, I think I beg to differ a little bit with that, because I just feel like really the video game community, it kind of makes you be a player, like a player fan. And you kind of like when you play different game modes for sports, at least, you kind of like lock into different players or like position groups, maybe more than you do other places. So it kind of makes you like love players more than regular like teams, and it kind of makes you like the fandom of like right now trade deadline. So like when you're playing the video game, you always wonder and think like, hey, if I traded this guy to this team, how would this look? Like, how would this wide receiver look with this quarterback? And I think kids doing that, like being able to do that in the game, they definitely learn a lot. Like they definitely know stats and things like that. But like you said, I think it's different for team fandom versus guys like really liking different guys.
Yeah, and I always wondered too, I mean, you were in the NFL, and this was, you almost spoiled it, and I stopped you very quickly. So I stalked you.
Okay.
Is it correct? Because the internet lies all the time.
It does.
Were you born in White Plains?
I was born in White Plains, New York.
I was born in Danbury, Connecticut.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. And
so,
I think you went to high school in Stanford, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah. So I went to high school in Stanford, and when me and my sister's 3 years older than me, when I graduated high school, my parents, they bought a house, and they still live in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Okay.
But yeah, so like the tri-state area, I moved around. I lived in Bridgeport with my parents. I lived in New York. I lived in Jersey when I played for the Giants. So like I've been all over the tri-state for a little bit at least.
And so you know how weird it is in the tri-state area where it's kind of a divide depending on where you are. You're either a Giants fan, a Jets fan, maybe a little bit more for me where I was a Patriots fan. Did you grow up a fan of any of those teams?
Oh, it's funny. I tell everyone when I was younger, I actually used to like players also, but
Okay.
always cheer for the New York teams. Like I just
Yeah.
even it's funny, it wasn't until I got a little older until I realized that Buffalo was actually
I know.
like is technically a New York team. So, but when I was younger, I'm not gonna lie, I used to wear this Keyshawn Johnson Jets jersey almost every other week to school, and it's actually the reason that why like I wore number 19 in high school mainly because
Okay.
I was like obsessed with Keyshawn Johnson for whatever reason when I was younger. I have no idea why, but
Kids do weird things, but it's a good player to be obsessed with. That's all right. Could be
for
worse.
sure, yeah, it definitely could be worse.
Yeah, I think and then no, so this I was gonna ask you actually. What are you a fan of a team now? Now that you have played, you've played on several teams. Do
Yeah.
you have an allegiance to them now? Are you excited? Like you root for them still, but do you have one team? And then you're in Virginia, so you're kind of in commander's land. So do you have a team that you root for actively now?
I actively, to be totally honest,
Be honest.
I actively root for Jacksonville. That
I love
was,
it.
um, believe it or not, one of the main reasons why I do root for them and I do respect it. I was only down there for a few years, but like whoever runs their alumni program of players, like I always get the updates. I always get invited to a game every year.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, this year because my baby won't get her shots
Yeah.
like soon enough. The free game that they're giving this year is Jacksonville versus the 49ers. And I'm so upset that I can't go down to that game because that's going to be such a good game. But yeah, like I had a great time in Jacksonville. Like I said, the Jacksonville, I don't know, it's like Jacksonville Legends. Whoever runs that department, you guys do a great job. I get all
Awesome.
your emails, and I love that they always invite the ex-players back, or they make it seem like it's not an awkward thing. Like,
Yeah.
whereas, you know what I'm saying? Like, I played for the Giants, I played for the Bears,
Yeah.
and sometimes, like, if you want to go to a game, like as an ex-player, like obviously it's easier and better that like if I'm getting offered free tickets versus hey, like how can I find a way to ask for maybe some complimentary tickets so I can bring me and my family to the game. So shout out to Jacksonville Jaguars. They do a great job with that, and I would say I'm definitely a Jags fan.
I love it. And I love their fans, their fans deserve it too. Like they've been through some shit. So
They've
I'm
been
so
through a
happy.
lot.
They've been through a lot. Like I tweet out the other day as a Giants fan, I'm a little bit spoiled. I grew up, I remember 2 Super Bowls very well. And now I'm dealing with the total opposite of whatever that success, the Tom Coughlin era, that I was
Yeah,
very fortunate. And I don't know, if you're loyal to a team that long that's not been very good, hasn't given you a lot,
man.
you know what? Those people are loyal as hell. Like I always say, if you're going to date someone, date a Vikings fan, date a Jags fan, date a Jets
That's
fan. Like
good.
these
That is
people,
good.
they go a Houston fan, forget
Yeah,
about it. Like
true.
they've been through some shit. Detroit fans, I'm in Michigan now, so they're a little crazy. So I don't know if
Yeah.
I totally agree with that part. But yeah, some of these franchises, it's interesting that how much they differ. Raiders last night, they're like, you know what, right now it's time. Let's rightfully so, you already paid this guy, but Josh McDaniels got fired. What are your initial thoughts? And this guy's still making the bag. Let's be clear. Like he has so much money. I hope he went right to Circa and started placing
Oh
bets.
man, obviously the easiest thing for me, the first thing I thought is how do you get fired on your day off? Like that's the first thing. But like hold on. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the first thing. How do you get fired on your day off? But just like you said, I honestly wouldn't give a shit if I'm getting fired with that much money attached to it. I wouldn't.
I'm
I,
looking jealous of him. This guy has 4 more years. He was on a 6-year deal, 4 more years. He's gonna get paid, doesn't have a job, and he's gonna crawl back to Bill Belichick and
and
probably get
everyone,
another check.
that's the best thing about this is just everyone kind of knowing, like, hey, he's going back to Belichick. Like, he's
There's no,
definitely going back. And if I was the offensive coordinator under Belichick right now, I would gonna be like, God damn it! Like, why is everyone bringing this up right now of all times?
Yeah,
But
they all do. They all crawl back to Billy.
But one thing I am excited to see is I'm excited for Antonio Pierce. It's just one of those things for guys, you know what I'm saying, stepping up in different places, and this is your shot. Like every coach wants his shot to be a head coach, and whatever way you get it, like if you maximize your opportunity, who knows what this stint can do, whether it's going to be a long stint at head coach or if it's just to finish out this season. It's a great, I think he has a great group of guys that he can work with, and we can see what they can do by time the season ends out.
Yeah, but come on. I mean, it feels so scripted. You know, I don't believe the NFL is scripted, but come on. Revenge game against the fucking Giants. Like, give me a break. They could have chose anyone else. I love it for him. He's one of my favorite. There's so many good memories with him, especially Super Bowl memory. But come on, I did not against the Giants. It's so weird because I want to root for him, but I don't know about the Giants this year. The Raiders also announced, did you see they said they're benching Jimmy G? So
yes.
You love it. Played in the NFL. I love it too. I bet Jimmy G to throw an interception every game because it's the most automatic bet that you can place. This guy, I don't even know what he's looking at when he's throwing them. As an NFL player, is tanking a real thing?
I think you can. So it's not a real thing. Maybe it's an unspoken thing, but you can definitely feel the vibe in the building if you're trying to be competitive or not. And you can know that as a player. And it's just one of those things where certain practice squad guys start getting moved up, or people start talking about, hey, we got to develop this guy, or we want to see what this guy can do. And if you start seeing funny movements, the movements that we see like as fans now, like realistically in the locker room, you see what's going on and you know what's going on sometimes, but it's not really considered tanking. It's more like you guys are purposely not playing the best talent that we have, or you guys aren't doing the things that we can possibly do for win. So maybe I don't know. Like it's hard to say. It's honestly hard to say. Because
like doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, like we were just talking about with your producer. The Cardinals is the best looking tanking team ever. Like with Dobbs, like this up until this point, like who knows if they start looking crazy, like where you can tell like, hey, this team is really tanking versus when they had Dobbs these past few weeks, it was a team that realistically they're playing hard and they look like they're playing hard, but everyone knows they're not going to win. And like, I feel like they kind of know.
And they're that team, like they remind me of Houston last year where Houston did it all season, but they were like 3-0 against the spread to start the season. They're like, oh, fuck, we got to calm down. And then it was 0-4 the rest of the way. Oh, whatever it is now. You mentioned Dobbs. Dobbs got moved to the Vikings. Poor Dobbs. This guy is all over the place. But I kind of like the move for him given the circumstance. It's unfortunate for Vikings fans. They kind of can never get a fair chance. Kirk looks so good. It sucks. But I think this move shows that the Vikings are not ready to lay down. They're not ready to make some splash move, but they're in the playoff picture right now. Which is
smart. I like it. I like it. I think Dobbs is a guy that he clearly has shown like, hey, I'm going to play hard with whatever with whatever group I have. And to think that you're going there with Justin Jefferson, like you gotta feel amazing. You gotta feel amazing, and they gotta feel good too. Like your quarterback goes down, and you're just thinking and wondering, like, damn, like what do we have? Not to shit on whoever's in the building already, but like we're saying, there's certain things like you got guys know, like, hey, this guy is good, but like he's good in practice. Like he's not gonna be the guy that's gonna pull this team to the playoffs. Like he's good maybe for 1 or 2 games where it's the mystery of what's he gonna do. But once teams get schemed up on a certain guy, it begs to differ what's gonna go on. And also, like, just even talking about that, I'm really interested to see what happens tomorrow night with Mayo Boy for sure. Because
and we'll just get right into the segment of Smash or Pass, and I'll give you my first Smash or Pass, and you tell me what you would do with this bet. So we've got Mayo Boy going to Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are getting a little bit lucky. I know everyone says there's nothing lucky, but some of those wins, man, they were a little bit fucking lucky. So smash or pass, Steelers -3.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. It's tough.
The reason why that's tough is I'm going to say, damn, like, I don't want to do this, but like, I just know it's going to happen. I'm going to say smash because I want Will Levis to do great. I honestly want him to do great. But what people have to realize, like, what he just did was
I know what you're going to say.
What he just did was beautiful, but it's Thursday night. It's a short week for him. And now that he has a little bit of tape on film, Tomlin is going to send the fucking house at him. I think I'm sorry, am I allowed to curse?
You can fucking say whatever you want. Okay. It's me. You follow me on Twitter. You fucking know what's up on this show.
No, so I think Tomlin's going to send the house at him. It's a rookie quarterback. Your second game, your first game you threw 4 touchdowns. That's not going to happen again. I personally, I would love it to happen. And I think because I want it to happen so much that it's probably going to be a dumpster fire for him. Yeah. And like I said, like, I hope it doesn't happen, but I do like that bet, Steelers -3, because I think Tomlin, like, just him and the way he coaches, he's going to have those guys fired up, and he's going to have them in the mindset, like, you guys going to let this rookie beat us national television Thursday night? Like, no way. So I'll take a smash on that.
Yeah, one of my favorite, and I'll run through it quick because my listeners are probably like, if you tell one more fucking person this, we're gonna lose it. But I love to bet, like, it's my fake model where I love to bet quarterbacks like to cover the spread in their first start, but they almost always the second week, and it hits at a crazy rate. At some point, I'll have an intern that can do the math for me. I'm not going to do that myself, but it hits at a crazy rate. But then you see that second week, it's not as successful as that first week because they start getting film, and then it's even less successful the third week. So not to think that maybe they have something in Will Levis. I just think Twitter likes to get excited. It's also why I like the Steelers defense scoring anytime touchdown. It was the first thing I bet because that's fine. So he had over 230 yards, 4 TDs, no interception. So give me an interception against this tough ass defense.
I think the special mojo, it moves from player to player. I think Brock Purdy, he had it. He had it. And honestly, like, once he started playing bad, Bagent in Chicago, he had it for a game, and I feel like he lost it, and now it's in Will Levis, and maybe it's something where he can string 2 games together, 3 games. But I'm just being honest, he looked really good, and
he looked awesome.
And I hope it's something where that continues, and they can protect him, and they can maybe get that fucking running game going again now that teams can be like, oh, this dude Levis, he'll let the ball go. So we have to on play action, we have to respect it a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited actually to see, and it's always good for the NFL when you have a guy like this, first round quarterback, regardless of where he went and like all the stuff like outside the field. Is he good? Everyone's wondering, is he good? And now we can see that this kid, he is good, and only time will tell how good he'll be for the future. But I'm rooting for him. Like, regardless if I'm going to bet with him or not right now, I am rooting for him.
I'm not placing any money on him, but I might bet DeAndre Hopkins again to score a touchdown or something along those lines. I do like the rushing angle. I think a good plan of attack versus this Steelers team, who hasn't been fantastic against the run, is to get, that Spears kid is great. Derrick Henry, they've been using him a lot in the receiving game too. Okay, next smash or pass, one of these games that everyone's going to talk about nonstop. They're over in Germany. Dolphins, Miami, smash or pass, over 50.5 total points.
Over. Yeah.
Mahomes off a flu game that he didn't play so well. It wasn't like a Jordan flu game. It was a bad flu game.
It was a bad.
Not pretty, but the media won't shut up. But so I think It's a nice
I hate to even say this.
You're gonna say it. Oh my
I
God.
hate to even say it. Is Taylor going to be in the house?
She's not going to Germany.
There are rumblings that maybe that she has a concert or she has a tour date that's close coming up that she might be out there. She might be out there rehearsing.
Producer Ryan, can you please look that up? Because if she does, I swear to God, the NFL is scripted. I swear to God.
You're going to do what?
No way that they started dating. Listen, what? That's crazy.
No, so I'm going to I'm going to
win or what?
I just think that I like points. I think with Mike McDaniels now we see what he can do, and he's a coach too. Like in a weird way, he likes the spotlight. Like he likes the spotlight as a coach the right way. And so this is something where, hey, I put up 70 this year. Everyone loved it, and I think he's always thinking about that now. And so. Different stage. You see how he walked into that press conference. It's so funny that he got crickets on that joke. I think it's so great. It's so great. And I think even with that, he's like, oh, you guys don't understand my jokes? How about I go out here and score 50 by myself? Yeah. So I would pick the over. And like you said, I think bounce back game. No one wants to play bad 2 weeks in a row, regardless, sick or not. I think guys also too, for now, these international games, it's something where if you can get over the travel and how tired you probably or possibly are, which coming off of sickness may not be good, or maybe it is a good thing. Maybe you get a lot of sleep during this travel and the first day there that it puts you back in cycle. But I'm going to be excited to see it. Hopefully it will be a lot of points versus the opposite of not a lot of points.
McDaniels has done a beautiful job. He somehow just is able to improvise the areas that are weak on his team. He's like, oh, our defense, there's, Ramsey coming back obviously helps. Yeah. He just totally patches up areas, even with, his running game. They just figure out a way to make it work. Someone goes down, that's fine. Next guy up, let's make it happen. He's so creative. And producer Ryan just said that Taylor Swift is actually in Indianapolis. So we are thinking every Kelsey under that we can find. That's what we're doing.
I love it. I love it.
All right, smash or pass. This is one I feel I'm a little torn on, so we'll see what you think. Smash or pass, Chargers -3 on the road versus the New York Jets.
Pass. Can't trust the Chargers.
Okay.
Can't trust them. I can't trust them. I want to, but I can't trust them. I don't know, man.
Oh, because you bet on them before, and then the fourth quarter, they said, no, thank you. Actually, we're going to just screw you over.
And I don't know what that is. I really don't know what that is. They're that team that when I'm looking at bets for them and their offense, and it's just Puka Nacua, all their wide receivers, that they have is so stacked. And it's one of those things too for Matthew Stafford. I always want to bet him over 300 yards. I just feel
that's
the
Chargers, not the Rams. You're mixing it up on me. I'm like, Matthew Stafford. I'm like, does he want me to let this go or what? The Chargers, which isn't much better, to be honest.
It's definitely not. Chargers, one thing they have a good defense. So
yeah. I don't know if anyone watched. Unfortunately, I did watch the New York Jets Giants game. It was, top 2 worst games, I would say, up there with the Fromm and Glennon game from 2 years past with Joe Judge. I don't know if anyone realizes this, but Zach Wilson is not a good quarterback. So when Tyrod was on the field, I think he was better than him. I can't believe that game was so close. It came down to the defense. So it's going to come down to, can the Chargers defense capitalize on this O-line and make it happen?
Yeah. So the Giants game, it's funny thing about that. I had a 9-game ticket. Once in a while, I do this for anywhere from a $2 to a $5 bet. I like to try to pick maybe 9 to 10 games and see if I can get the over-unders right. And I had an NFL slate with 9 games on it. And
you did what I did.
I got
the over
8 over 9. And the one game I got wrong was the Giants game, because in my head, I'm like, yo, Tyrod is playing. This the over underline was what 31.
It was crazy at one point.
31,
yeah, it got crazy.
And that didn't hit with a game going into overtime. I was sick, and it was one of those things where I wasn't even paying attention to the bet, and then I was like, let me look at this ticket. And when I looked down, I was like, yo, everything on this ticket is gonna hit except for this Giants game.
You're like, this is the one. This is gonna happen. It's gonna happen now. No, and it's crazy. Like for that game to go into overtime when the Giants had -7 passing yards. What the? I mean, that's fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy.
But get well soon, Tyrod. I just feel like Tyrod is just one, like he just has, I don't know, like terrible like injury football luck. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's just a guy too. Like he plays so hard, and when he plays hard, like he does well. Like he
deserves better. Yeah, man. He's kind of like, if like Vikings fans were a player, it would be Tyrod kind of thing. It's unfortunate. Okay, last one here. Smash or pass. New England Patriots -3.5 versus the Washington Commanders, who are approaching this. We don't tank, maybe tank. What's going on?
Smash.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love it here.
I don't know what Magic Johnson is doing right now.
Listen.
I respect. I respect it. I watched. Did you watch Winning Time?
I didn't.
So I respect Magic and his business savvy, and he probably has a good plan. They probably have a great plan for next year and whatever's going on. But getting rid of your best pass rushers like at mid-season is absurd. It's crazy. And then I feel bad for Sweat. but I mean, you can't feel bad for someone if potentially they're not happy in their situation where they're at. So the big thing is the grass isn't always greener on the other side. But I do not think they are going to be competitive on defense without that rush. Like I don't, but that's the beauty also. Like I was a fringe guy where I was on practice squad and kind of playing. So I know me as a guy thinking that if I was on practice squad or I was third or fourth string, I'm salivating because it's one of those things where you kind of know when you see this as a team, like you see this where, maybe we're not tanking, but we're giving up on this season. We got rid of our best players. And what that ends up meaning is guys who make bigger contracts, they're going to have one foot out the door. They're going to have one foot out the door. So if I'm a guy scratching and clawing to be on a team, it's like, dang, like I can make some noise. Like if I'm going to get more playing time, maybe I can go in there as a D lineman and no one knows me and I can sneak in a few sacks or pressures and stack up for a new contract later on down the line. So it's going to be interested to see for that aspect. And that's the best thing about the NFL. We find new stars and new players every week. So this situation definitely for them, I could just imagine too, what type of carousel they have of players coming in weekly, trying out different D linemen that aren't in the league or free agents. They're probably going to be heavy trying to get in the Commanders locker room right now.
Yeah, and it also gives these guys, like, I mean, you know best, like an opportunity to be like, one, it shows the front office, like, what do we have here? How do we need to get rid of, where do we have a gap in the depth chart that we need to take care of? And it also gives guys an opportunity to step up, and then maybe you can be a bigger piece moving forward. I mean, the Patriots defense, everyone can say whatever they want about Bill Belichick right now. I still think New England, they're about to be a little fringe of this, like, let's kind of give up at some point, but you got to fake it a little bit for a while. So this game, Howell is getting sacked an average of 5 times per game, which is tied with whoever the fuck is playing for the Giants on a weekly basis. So the Patriots defense, they're going to be licking their lips to get at Howell, this poor kid. But I think that this new regime is going to want their own guy in the building. And then, you know, you have the word generational coming in about some, you know, 2 of the quarterbacks right now. We'll see if that changes approaching the draft. But, you know, they're probably ready to go in there and just completely just see what we have here.
Yeah, so I think someone had said it in the chat, players don't tank, organizations do. And it looks like organizations now are finding a way to at least like for us as the media, be confused about what's going on. Like, are you guys really bad, or are you tanking, or are you purposely doing this? And New England is another team. It's just, I don't know if they're tanking, but I don't know if Bill is completely happy with the quarterback. And like you said, they might be waiting for another quarterback to come in there. And I think Bill Belichick would much rather Mac Jones be his backup quarterback than his starter.
Yeah, it's gonna be funny. Not funny because my team is one of them, but it's gonna be kind of funny to watch, like right now, this tankathon kind of go on and see how this plays out, because all these teams play each other so many times. You have to look at it at some point. Like there is so many matchups between the current draft order between 1 and 12. They all play each other a million times until the rest of the season. So we're gonna get a lot of shitty football.
Yeah.
Do you have, before I let you get out of here, because I've taken a ton of your time up and I appreciate you.
Fine.
You have a best bet. Actually, why don't you give me a college football bet you like this week? You like college football.
Ooh, I do like college football. Let me see.
How about my Arizona Cardinals? I mean Cardinals.
The Cardinals. ASU?
Wildcats. No, Wildcats.
No, Wildcats.
I said Cardinals because of fucking producer Ryan.
Yo, who does this is so bad, but I believe in football gods. Wait, they're off this week, are they? No, they're not. So, because I believe in football gods, I believe that Purdue, like, they can shake things up and beat Michigan.
I love it.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but I do believe that there are football gods, and when you mess with the football gods, bad things can happen. And I don't think Michigan will run the tables because of all these allegations and all of the extra stuff that's going on. I feel like it, as a player in the locker room, 18 to 20, now some guys are 24 now, but whatever, in that age group, it's a lot to process. The fact that you got FBI on campus, you guys maybe seeing FBI or media like asking questions about sign stealing from one of your coaches and all that, but also too, it might be bringing doubt in that locker room. Like, hey guys, are we really that good? Are our coaches really like as a guy too, you might feel like, damn, like we do be running the right blitzes all the time. So if you start thinking about these things, like you're like, oh, are we cheaters? Are we really good, or are we mediocre? So I think that some doubt might be in that locker room, and maybe I'm wishing it because I don't like the story, the back end story, just for the players. But we're gonna see though, because those kids are most likely very, very, very good, and they don't need coaches stealing signs. And it sucks that this is all going down. But
there's a lot that goes into it, even with the stealing signs. But all I heard from you is we are betting on Purdue. Yep, we're doing it. Well, you have been a blast. I'll have to get you back on very soon. I could talk to you forever. Let everyone know where they can find you, what you're working on, how to subscribe, how to listen, because I'm sure they want to.
You guys can tune in to either the Greenlight podcast or my own show, Facts and the King, with my co-host Bo Allen, and Facts and the King on all social media platforms. We drop a new episode every Wednesday on YouTube and any other place that you listen to your podcast. And if you want to hit me up on Twitter, it's at Big N98. Just shout me out, holler, and I most likely will respond. Don't be rude. I'll be rude back. Just to let you know.
Listen, they already know that. If they follow me, they know I'll clap right the fuck back. You're fantastic, Nate. I'm getting you back on at some point.
And I definitely have to have you on my show. We have a segment on our show, shit to talk to your girl about. So like I definitely want to get you on for that.
I will let you get out of here. Good luck on your bets. You're the best.
Thank you.
And now we have my guy Jeff, host of Sports by the Book at Southport. What's going on?
How you doing? It's good to be with you today.
It's good. And we actually are, you're one of a few guests that I've actually met before.
That's true. Our guy Dustin Sweetelson really took us on a night that night.
I gotta get Dustin on, to be honest. That guy is something else. You can get into a lot of trouble. Maybe I'm not supposed to be saying that. You can get into a lot of trouble with Dustin, but he's also very bright. So he has to get on the show very soon. How's the season going? NFL season going for you?
Last week was good. Finally,
Yeah.
had a nice little 6-2 last week.
Love it.
If Chris Godwin could have gotten his bearings, we really would have had a monster week because
I
I
know.
sprinkled on that money line. We'll get into the Bills later, Steph. It's just they are a team that I just don't really like. Trying to go against them as many times as possible. But
Yeah.
last week was good. The few weeks leading up is just, you know how it is with betting the league. Just try to tread water, make sure your bad weeks aren't too bad, and take advantage when you're seeing it right. But I'm up on the NFL this year, which is a nice little change.
Yeah, me too. And I think part of it is learning discipline. Like you got to learn discipline too with betting. And like, you could do your crazy parlays. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't do it, but there's a little bit of discipline. And when you get hot, you have to recognize, okay, I'm hot right now. Don't go put 17 units on something because you think you're winning every bet. Is NFL your favorite sport to bet?
So my favorite sport to bet's actually college basketball. As well.
It's coming up soon.
So yeah, it starts next week. The sharp college basketball bettors of the world say that the best time to do it is in November and December, while the bookmakers still are not paying attention because obviously college football, NFL is still going.
Yeah.
Hit or miss for me because it's really just a matter of making sure that my numbers on college basketball are right the first week or so of the season. So I don't go crazy. I usually start betting that week of Thanksgiving in college hoops. Love college football as well. And then, of course, look, the NFL's king. We know it is. I love betting it. Everyone loves betting it. Let's be real with ourselves.
Yeah. I was very tired. And I bought tickets to go to the Purdue Arizona Wildcats game in December. I don't even remember the date. I was a little delirious. I'm like, I'm going to get tickets. It's going to be fun. What do you think about the Arizona Wildcats this year, basketball wise?
Look, they're loaded with talented. I really don't like Tommy Lloyd. That's my big problem with them. We've seen it now. I had them winning 2 years ago. I thought they were the best team in the country by a pretty wide margin, actually. And then we know what happened to them in the Sweet 16 to Houston.
Yeah, trust me, I know. Yeah.
And then last year, I mean, my God, look, both of our alma maters got taken out by Princeton because I'm a Mizzou. I went to Mizzou.
And I don't want to be, and that hurts. Like you never want to get taken out by fucking Princeton.
No, and look, I'm a Jersey guy, so I respect Princeton. That's the best school in my home state. But man, it just like, especially for Mizzou, like that was their first tournament win since 2010. It had been forever when they beat Utah State. And it's like, all right, well, you know what? I'll take my chances against Arizona. They're a team that I don't like the coach. And then Arizona goes out and loses. Like, holy shit. Well, Mizzou's going to make the Sweet 16. And then Princeton just smokes their ass. So
God bless you.
That sucked. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Tommy Lloyd. They're looking at the Pac-12. I mean, look, it's the usual suspects. UCLA is going to be really good. USC's loaded with talent. Yeah. We know that. Obviously, Bronny's there. Arizona's good. They're going to be good in the regular season. It's just a matter of, again, it's a total crapshoot in the NCAA tournament. Can Tommy Lloyd figure out a way to get past round 3 this go around?
Yeah, I don't know about that. All right, we'll switch to the NFL. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb a lot. Because I don't like being disturbed. Everyone's like, I can't get a hold of you. I'm like, I fucking know. I do that on purpose. I don't want you to be able to get a hold of me. But I finally reopened Twitter and I go right to my DMs and I see you message me and you're like, McDaniels, like, I forget what you said. McDaniels will have like stuff that's good content for tomorrow.
Oh, perfect.
And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, McDaniels, what's happening? So then I switched to the timeline. I missed it. I was a little delayed. So Josh McDaniels got fired. Thoughts, feelings, where are you at with it? It had to happen though. He's a little, and I got in trouble on Instagram because I call him a little rat, but he's a little rat.
So I didn't realize what was going on. One of my really good friends who's a big time radio host in St. Louis texted me, is McDaniels the worst coach ever? In the last 20 years. Is he the worst?
Worst? He's the richest.
The last 20 years.
Worst coach.
Yes, worst coach. And I'm like, all right, well, this is a little random. What happened here? And I go to the timeline and I'm like, oh, the Raiders actually did what needed to be done.
Yeah.
And now look, I don't think he deserved the second year. I mean, just going through what they did last year.
Yeah.
They blow a 20-point lead to Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury in week 2 in the home opener. They blow all those games they're leading at halftime. They
lost
lose
they lost to Jeff Saturday. Yeah, Jeff fucking Saturday.
They lost to Baker Mayfield when he'd been with the team for 24 hours. Like, McDaniels lost so many games that if you and I were coaching the Raiders, we would have won that game.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have even been close. They would have been a playoff team last year. They scapegoated Derek Carr, which, look, Derek Carr's mid. We know this. But it wasn't his fault that the thing imploded on them last year.
Yeah.
Then you go out and get Garoppolo. I like Jimmy G. I think he's pretty clearly injured right now. And he may just be an average quarterback without Kyle Shanahan.
He also needs a good system, and they are not that. So that was a poor choice by them, because he is someone that very much thrives in a good system. You guys do not have a fucking good system. What a poor choice. And now, they're going and they're saying they're benching him. So I think what they're doing is looking ahead to this tank type situation. You saw Devontae Adams very upset because he wanted to play with Derek Carr. Then they got rid of Derek Carr. Now he has Jimmy G, who, again, probably not fully his fault. There's a little bit of an injury aspect. There's also a little bit of not putting him in the best situations. You already pissed off Josh Jacobs, who we're seeing signs of maybe him not practicing with the team and what that looks like on the field, because, he had a decent game, but it was a disaster. So they're benching Jimmy. They're not tanking, but I think they're realizing, like, we need to look ahead.
I thought they were going to be the worst team in the AFC going into the year.
Yeah.
And they've kind of shown, even though New England has less wins than they do, even though they beat the Patriots, that was in the peak of the Patriots not knowing what the hell they were doing.
Well, their wins have came against teams that are getting their ass.
They beat Denver, teams that suck. And they haven't scored more than 21 points in a game. I mean, it was time. And it's classic Raiders to do this. It was 10 o'clock at night here in Vegas on Halloween night. It's perfect that Davis did what he did at that time. Your guy Antonio Pierce gets the interim role. I'm curious to see how that looks out. Obviously,
I know, but I was just telling Nate this, where, like, what does it have to be against the Giants? Like, I want to root for him, because they also have Brandon Graham, who was with the Giants. Right. I was very upset with that move when we moved on from him. Like, that's my guy. Like, that sucks. Like, he, ASU, whatever. I forgave him for it, but I want to root for him. Where are you at with that game before we talk about Thursday Night Football? Playing the Giants. I believe Giants are 3-point underdogs. There is up in the air. I don't know. I don't believe anything Dable says anymore. He might be the master at coach talk. No one's realizing it yet, but it's going to take one more year. We're going to realize anything Dable says, really do not listen to it unless he's being literal to you. If he's speaking in some type of it's very cloudy, he's not being serious. So maybe Evan Neal back. Don't really care if he comes back, to be completely honest. Andrew Thomas is who I would love to get back. Got JMS back. You get maybe Daniel Jones back. DeVito, Barkley to Barkley all game. I don't know about that. So hopefully it's Daniel Jones. But what do you think about these Raiders with no Jimmy G and everything that happened on a short week?
Well, I will say, D. Jones did practice in full today. So
he did. See, I love this. Ryan, we got to get all my reactions. There's always a reaction from me every show because I get in the zone right before and I miss shit. So, okay, awesome. Love it.
Yeah, I expect Jones going to play. So, we don't get Tommy DeVito with a team preparing for him.
Thank God.
God, look, I'm a Jets fan. I think you knew that. That game last week was a big pile of crap. But, hey, it's for my Jets, it was a very lucky win. I still can't believe they pulled it out. And
I don't know how. That game was brutal.
Well, you know what? Brian Dable totally screwed up the end of that game.
He did, and he's doing that a couple times.
You go for it on 4th and 1. Like, the Jets defense was totally dejected, and if you don't get it, all right, make Zach Wilson go an extra 10 yards. But
I think one of the most aggravating parts of the Giants, and then I will stop myself, get into Thursday Night Football, I promise, because that's what everyone wants to hear is some bets. But what's frustrating about the Giants is, one, they just totally neglected depth issues going into the season. You knew you had a depth issue even at quarterback. Like, Daniel Jones isn't necessarily an injury prone, but he has like some of an injury history. There's been injuries in the past. And then the O-line, you just went into the season like, this is fine, doesn't matter. And the special team still looks the same. And I think that Dable is probably getting a little bit, I don't know. He's overthinking it. He's yelling on the sideline. I don't care about yelling at players. I've never played football, but Tom Coughlin yelled at players. It didn't bother me at all. But then Barkley, don't make him rush 36 fucking times if you're not going to pay him. So on that note, everyone's tired of hearing about the Giants. We'll talk about Thursday Night Football. We have Will Levis coming off a very nice performance, as a lot of times these guys like to do when they get their first start, but that's okay. I'm excited for him. On the road versus Steelers. Steelers are minus 3-point favorites. Total sitting at 36.5. Where are you at, like, general read on this game?
I want to see if Kenny Pickett suits up. That's really all it comes down to for me. If it's Trubisky, I don't think the line will move much. Maybe move a point. Pickett is still probably not looked at as a much better quarterback than Trubisky, even though he's got that it factor, right? Everyone's saying that with that. But look, Tennessee is just one of those teams that I think they suck. But now that Will Levis, and again, his first start, maybe it's just a product of teams not having tape on him in the NFL level. Will Levis looked really damn good on Sunday.
Yeah.
That touchdown, the fourth, obviously the 3 to Hopkins, whatever, they didn't cover him on 2 of them, but he at least got the ball where they needed to go. That throw to Westbrook-Ikhine was an amazing throw, the fourth one, which was as good of a throw as we've seen a quarterback make all last week.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something there with Levis. It would be quite the thing if Levis ended up being better than Bryce Young, where through one start he looks better than Young. But I have no play on this until I know who's playing quarterback for Pittsburgh. Yeah. If it's Pickett, I'm probably laying off. If it's Trubisky, I'll probably take a short money line price on the Titans. Ugly game. This will be an ugly game because imagine the Steelers will stack the box against King Henry. And then Pittsburgh's offense, we know how bad they suck. And Matt Canada has no idea what the hell he's doing. So again, that under, like, man, it's 36.5. That's really low, but it probably doesn't get there if it's Trubisky.
Yeah, it could turn into a disaster. And my co-host on Mondays, Jason Gold, he said while he was watching the game, and I see it now that he has said it and watching it back now, there's a little like Nick Foles-esque to the way he throws Will Levis throws the ball. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful ball. I'm interested to see what Will Levis does against the Steelers defense, because there is a chance that they try to shake him up, which I think they could probably find success. Is there player props that you have looked at?
I'm going to eat some chalk here.
I love it. There's some good, there's some really good numbers on this game. I think I would rather bet props than take a side.
Yeah, I just going to the chalk. You don't see Derrick Henry plus 130 anytime touchdown very often. Yeah. And I know he's dealing with the ankle, whatever. It's a short week. You remember what Henry did to Green Bay on that Thursday night last year? Tennessee, who looked dead at the time, went there and just kicked the Packers' ass in that game.
Yeah.
And it was mostly because Derrick Henry ran all over him. Now, the Pittsburgh defense this year, obviously much better than that Green Bay defense from a year ago. But I think there is something to trying to play that type of guy on a short week. So, look, it's plus 130. You don't see that very often with Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. I know it's not.
And I think the Steelers' run D is actually not as good as maybe people
okay.
think. They're about average there, but I think you have two pieces in Henry and Spears as well, who I think is an interesting look this week.
Plus
to go over
anytime,
Yeah. I think too, so Spears, I really like his over 19.5 rushing yards. I think that's minus 114. Mm-hmm. His receiving yards are pretty enticing too. We're seeing the Tennessee Titans use both of their backs. They're giving them a lot of receiving work. So I like Henry to go over his 12.5. He's done this 5 times this year, a lot of screen pass type action probably going on. So I like Spears and Henry in this game. I'm waiting for a primetime game where we get we need a 3 touchdown game. I needed 3 touchdowns out of Henry. I would love that. I feel like it's been a while since we've got a game like that.
Well, I mean, you're a week late on Hopkins, right? I mean,
yes. Well, I did. Hopkins was one of my best bets this week, anytime touchdown. But shit, I didn't expect 2, 3. Jesus.
No one did. I mean, the other thing I will say, are we kind of obligated to take a small nibble of the Steeler defense anytime touchdown? I mean, aren't we?
It's almost like you listened to the show before, but you didn't. But I already did. That was actually my first bet.
Yeah.
I think what Will Levis did was beautiful, but the Steelers D has gotten the ball away from the other team 3 straight weeks. And you're telling me against a rookie quarterback coming off a hot week, short week, though, I think he could throw one and they could get right into the end zone. So I love that. The best number I saw was plus 800. That's what I think I bet it at.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. Just again, like, because FanDuel does the defense only and doesn't do the special teams.
I know, they're so rude.
Yeah, I think I'd rather to just take the shorter number on DK just in case you get a punt return, kick return. Make sure you get that money in your wallet. So, but yeah, no, look, I think that's probably something you have to look at this week. Boy, I would. Could Najee do something for once? Also, I mean.
I'll tell you what Najee's going to do. My only bet that I like on Najee this week is him to go over 8.5 receiving yards. He's been more involved in the receiving game the last 2 weeks. Don't really know what's going on with Pickett. Probably like this even more if it's Trubisky, to be completely honest. But he's soared over this 3 of the last 4 games. So 8.5, that's a low number for Najee here, especially a guy that's doing this at like in a consistent sense.
No, definitely. And again, this Steeler team, I don't get how they're 4-3. They look awful most of the time, but
they're so lucky. It's so annoying.
They find a way to suck out. That's just the way that it is. I mean, the win against Cleveland, thank you, Deshaun Watson. The Baltimore one, I still can't quite figure out how that managed to happen.
Yeah.
And then the Rams, I mean, they just kicked the crap out of the Rams in the second half. And after what we saw from the Rams, even before Stafford got hurt last week, maybe that team's not any good.
Yeah, and one of my big issues with the Steelers for a little bit is like just the way that they are managing the O-line. You draft this kid, just put him in the fucking O-line. It's not working with what you have there. But I've heard little rumblings that they're actually going to take a different look at O-line this week. So I wonder how that benefits this team. Is there any other props that you like on this game?
Just looking at the rest of the way, I mean, Alex Highsmith's sack prop, you can get over a quarter of a sack at plus 110. I don't mind that. Obviously, you just need to get in, get a half sack. You're good there.
Yeah.
That's the only other one I was really looking at this week. Everything else, again, these Thursday night games are hard unless if you're throwing first touchdown cards, in all honesty. I know our guys at SGP, Sean Green, Ryan Kramer, have had an amazing year with that.
Yeah.
That's really these Thursday night games, unless if I really love the side like last week with Tampa, and boy, I got really lucky with that.
Yeah.
You
got really lucky.
I needed a 4th down BS holding penalty. I needed him to try to rip Baker's head off, and then I needed to doink off the helmet for Mike Evans to make the catch. But hey, a win's a win. You know that.
A win's a win, all right? The only other prop right now that I like is another reception prop. The Titans defense has not been good against wide receiver ones. Everyone can argue with me about who they think that is on the Steelers team. I think Deontay Johnson over 4.5 receptions. I actually don't mind people taking an alt line on that. I probably will look at it myself. I haven't bet it yet, but I might pump that number up to like a 5, a 6. I'm going to wait until we get sure quarterback news before I go about that. But he's gone over this last 2 weeks, been back for what I think 3 now to kind of ease him in that first week. He's a big part of this. I would love him to get a touchdown. I don't know if we're getting it out of him, but you are a part of one of my 2 new segments. So welcome. We're doing power bottoms and fake tops. So everyone likes to put out rankings and power rankings, but I want to look at teams that kind of have a chance. They're either feisty or they're, rated a little bit too high and people are a little bit too high on them. So looking at power bottoms. So these are teams that are either fringe playoff, not in the playoff picture right now, but you think could make a push. Who is that for you?
So looking at the sleepers here in the league.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I'll go to the NFC South. Now that Desmond Ridder is finally hitting the bench.
Yeah.
And Heineke is average. We know this. He's average. He will blow up at some point. But Atlanta's quarterback play with Ridder has been so comically awful.
Yeah.
That he goes out of the game in concussion protocol last week, and Atlanta scores on all but one of the drives in the second half with Heineke.
Yeah.
Now, yes, I know they need to finish those off, but man, with Heineke there, and again, we're talking about like a below average starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Coming in, but he's better than what Ritter is.
And
so,
also, the thing is with these backup quarterbacks and people that have been listening to me for a while, I always say this, like Heineke is exactly what you want. If it is going into week 9, you have to or want to take your quarterback out, put your guy in, and get into the playoffs. Like he can do that for you. He can win games. It's not always pretty, but again, like he's kind of like a Tyrod Taylor. Like these are some of the better backup quarterbacks in the league that deserve to make whatever they're making. So I feel good with that. I thought we were going to see Heineke, honestly, by week 5. For me, the team that I'm looking at when we talk about power bottoms is a team that made one of the very few, very bleak moves going on as far as the trade deadline. But the Minnesota Vikings, Joshua Dobbs. So right now, Minnesota they are right now in the playoff picture. I think they stay there with how weak this NFC is. They have all the talent in the world. We saw what Dobbs can do. They obviously don't feel very confident in Hall, or they wouldn't have made that. They basically got him for free. And Kwesi also hasn't showed us that he's great at drafting quite yet. So give up whatever you need at this point to get some guys. And he's getting a improved O-line by a lot in Minnesota, and then improved weapons. Like Hawkinson's going to be his best friend. We're seeing this little bit of a come out party by Addison. He's not afraid to chuck the ball. He also loves to be a check down king. I actually think that Minnesota is in a good spot looking at their schedule to stay there and to sneak into the playoffs here.
Well, of course, naturally, we picked the two teams that are playing each other this week for this.
I love it.
So, for you brought it up with Minnesota, including this week at Atlanta, New Orleans at home at the big boat up there, at Denver, the Bears, and at the Raiders. Very, very manageable over the next 5 weeks. Find a way to go 3-2 in those games and get to that game against Detroit, the game against Cincinnati at 7-6. You're live. You're very much live.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Minnesota making that move, and, you see fans losing their shit about whatever is going on. You didn't trade for this person. You traded blah, 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 blah. All you're seeing is teams commit to the fact where it's like, okay, we're not good. We're going to move on from this player. But the Vikings very specifically, I know that they were maybe in talk with Jameis, whatever it was a little bit too high of a price. So you recognize we're going to need a quarterback next year. Who is the best option for us at a reasonable price to come on and get us the playoffs? And it's Joshua Dobbs. I think that was the perfect move for them. Looking at that game. So this was before the Dobbs news. So on my Monday show, I took Vikings plus 5.5 because I love taking quarterbacks in their first start when, teams don't have film on them. They always cover. Now it's down to 4.5. Do you lean Falcons here? Because with the Heineke news, I kind of do.
I don't mind using Atlanta if you're alive in Survivor.
Yes.
Right now. I don't mind. I like Jaron Hall at BYU. He was a good college quarterback. Really could use his legs. Not the greatest of arms, but was creative enough. I don't see him as an NFL starter. And I would imagine Atlanta, who got cooked last week by Will Levis, is not going to let another rookie quarterback cook him again, making his first career start. I know technically Willis got the first snap, but I expect this to be an Atlanta win. 4.5 feels about right. If you want to lay with Atlanta, I don't mind it. But again, I think I'd much rather throw them in a money line parlay, or if you're in Survivor pools, there are some really good Survivor choices this week. They're good ones. New Orleans is a good one against Tyson Bagent and the Bears. The Browns are good against Clayton Tune, assuming it's Tune. If it's Kyler, I might be a little bit scared, but there are a lot of good options this week in Survivor, and Atlanta is one of them.
Yeah. The other power bottom before I move on to fake tops is obviously Cincinnati. Like that's the straightforward one. Like Cincinnati is going to the playoffs. They are still in the market to be able to win their division. Either way, they will be in the playoffs. We're seeing Cincinnati back. It's so funny. that fucking team, they like to start nice and slow and then get hot. They're doing it once again. So Cincinnati is all the way back. So they're obviously a power bottom. That's the most straightforward one.
Oh yeah. Look, I didn't even process them as a bottom at this point. I know they're technically
they don't deserve to be a bottom. Yeah.
Right. They're in last place. Sure. But the league is gonna really rue that they let the Bengals hang around here. They looked awful. Joe Burrow was clearly not healthy, and he wasn't ready to play.
Yeah,
and they were 3-3 through 6 games. The league needed to have them be 1-5. That's how you bury a team like that.
Yeah,
when you're 1-5, not 3-3. Now that Thursday night game in a few weeks in Baltimore, I think that's going to be for first place in the AFC North. So
hell yeah. And they're even, up until I think it was last week, 2 weeks ago, I bet them to make it to the playoffs at like plus 300, plus 320, whatever it was. So it still had not caught up. We'll go to fake tops now. So these are the teams that are sitting nice and pretty, but I don't know about them. What's the first team that comes to mind?
Oh, it's been the one that I've said is a fake top for years. During this entire run, other than for maybe 3 games, and that's Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
Yeah, look, Allen didn't practice today. That right shoulder's clearly not right.
Yeah.
That defense, without Milano, without Trey White, with a banged up Ed Oliver, that ain't the same defense that we saw over the last few years. And even with all those guys healthy, I thought they were bullies. Buffalo is like the classic schoolyard bully. If you're overmatched, overwhelmed by them, they're going to kick the crap out of you. But as long as you punch the bully back in the face, they usually will. That's why I think the Jets have actually played them well the last year plus, because even though the Bills are clearly more talented than the Jets punch back, and that Jet defense is really good. So, the Bills – Stephie,
I like the Douglas move, though. Do you like the Douglas move for them, cornerback?
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
But that's them recognizing that, holy shit, we need to add a little bit.
Well, the bill on the injury report today, I would imagine you missed it because it came through during the show. Rasul Douglas was a DNP, just got here, which was very good PR.
He's so sleepy from his flight from Wisconsin to fucking Buffalo because it's so long.
But look, the Bills, to me, I think they're going to get smoked on Sunday night. I think Cincinnati's going to kick the crap out of them like they did in the playoff game a year ago. And for Buffalo, their schedule gets really difficult. Starting this week with this Bengal game, don't be surprised that the Bills just flat out missed the playoffs in the AFC with all those teams jumbled, and especially if Allen is not 100% healthy, which I think is pretty clear that he's not.
Yeah, I bet them. This is a couple of weeks removed now, but I did bet them to miss the playoffs at some point and I think it was probably after that Giants game. And I think there's a difference in when we see these, this is clearly just like one of those fluke upsets. For example, Chiefs-Broncos game this week. Like, I'm not making much out of that. I don't think that means that Denver is back. You can't possibly be back now that we're halfway through the season. I think, obviously Patrick Mahomes was not feeling well. He didn't have a flu game like Jordan did, but like seeing them stay in there with the Giants like that was a little bit definitely concerning. Fake tops. Who was my other? So Pittsburgh Steelers is the only other one that I think I feel confident saying right now. I don't trust Matt Canada by any means.
Nor should you. Should you. The evidence, they haven't had a 400-yard game since 2020.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I will throw one more out there, and I just want to see how you react to this. I'm down on the AFC East teams.
I'm nervous.
Miami, we're going to learn a lot about on Sunday in Germany. Yeah. Because Miami has kicked the crap out of all the bad teams on their schedule. And you know what? When you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, that makes sense. Those guys are unbelievable. Tyreek Hill, I think, has a legitimate argument to be the MVP of the league through the first half of the season right now.
Yeah, I said this while Nate was on. The one thing that McDaniels has done a really good job with is he's able to mask where their biggest issues are. Like the Miami Dolphins defense is not that good. He's able to overcome that. He's able to scheme things up that people haven't seen before. And I think, of course, on defense, they get Ramsey back. That's awesome. Their O-line, again, he's kind of overcoming this O-line that has not been great. They're still giving up like a decent amount of points, which in comparison to like the Chiefs defense has surprised me entirely. Like they are allowing the second least amount of points in the entire league. I didn't expect that from them. They're playing really tough. Miami is an interesting one. Who do you think wins that division?
I still think Miami does.
Yeah.
All they really have to do, if they win, and now, first off, all this could be null and void in Miami if they go to Germany and beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
The main reason that I'm not fully bought into Miami is look at the two good teams they played this year.
Yeah.
Buffalo kicked the shit out of them.
And listen, the Giants almost, if they didn't make a couple mistakes, the Giants could have beat Miami that day, but if they had a healthy O-line, I'm telling you, that defense played tough against them. You have to get Tua to make mistakes.
Oh, 100%. And Carolina was up 14-0 until Carolina.
Forget it.
And then, look, the Eagles, I know that game was tied late in the third quarter, but the Eagles are clearly the better team in that game. The only reason that game was tight was because of that fluky pick six that Hurts threw off the deflection. But we will learn a lot about Miami this weekend. If they go to Germany and beat Kansas City, where, boy, last week with the Chiefs, I think that had to do with the fact that Mahomes was sick, and Mahomes doesn't trust anyone but Kelsey.
No.
He does not trust any of those wide receivers, and that's going to have to change if the Chiefs are going to make another deep playoff run yet again. Because if not, even with that defense being really good, it's Mahomes. He is capable of beating anyone. It is hard to see them, especially if they don't get the one, very hard to see them beating three really good teams in a row to even get to a Super Bowl here in Vegas. So
it feels like deja vu a little bit here because, and this is what stopped me from talking about the Chiefs, because I recognize this team is a little bit different, but last year we were all having similar conversations where the Chiefs didn't look that great. They're not whatever. So I feel like they almost save their energy and they're like, it's fine. We'll get by. We'll make it to the playoffs. And then we're just going to screw you guys. Like we'll get there. Then we'll get hot. We'll use what we have. We'll figure it out. Reed will figure it out. So I struggle. I feel like too many times before I've talked about the Chiefs and then they end up shutting me up.
It's more than possible. I mean, look, the one kid, again, this really does feel a little bit different though with his lack of trust in the receivers.
Yeah, it's bad.
Look, we ragged on Juju all year last year, but you know what? I think he did trust Juju.
Yeah.
So
I don't dislike Juju. A lot of people do. I think that I like Juju.
Yeah, I'm indifferent to him. I think he's a totally fine wide receiver. I don't think he deserves the hate that he got for the TikToks and stuff. But hey, old school people don't like TikTok. We know this. But but you know, the AFC is really intriguing right now because right now, if you made me bet like, hey, who's going to win the AFC right now? I would bet Cincinnati. I wouldn't even think twice. I'm doing that because when they're healthy, they're the most complete team. And then the second team right now, there's a legitimate argument to be made on Jacksonville.
I was just about to say that. I was just saying it. Yeah, I think you're right. If I were to put money, also looking at value, like you're going to get value on Cincinnati and Jacksonville right now. And I think there's a conversation to be had, especially with Jacksonville. I could see them totally getting hot once again, like they did last year. They're kind of putting it together. You're seeing them do that. They're winning games. It hasn't been pretty always, but they have a lot of pieces there. You know, they bring on, I'm not a big Ezra Cleveland. That's one that I didn't even bring up that during. I don't think that everyone thought that was such a good move. He's not as good as everyone is saying. It helps, but he's not the impact that they think it's going to be.
For the price they got him at,
it's fine. It's whatever. Yeah, I thought more like a fifth was probably what would happen. So whatever. You get what you get. But I think Jacksonville, like, there's something to be said about how they're putting it together once again.
Now, I haven't mentioned Baltimore, whose defense is awesome. Yeah. And Lamar, at this moment, I would vote Lamar Jackson the MVP of the league.
Yeah, he's my most recent bet for MVP.
Yeah, I think that's a good one right now. With them, I need to see it in the playoffs. And I know that may be unfair, where last year they should have beat Cincinnati with Huntley in Cincy a year ago if it wasn't for that fluky 100-yard fumble return the other way by Hubbard. But I still can't get that performance. And I know it's unfair. It's 4 years ago. The league is different. The team is different. But that performance in 2019 where Tennessee beat them in their building when they were 14-2 and on their way to the Super Bowl as a 1 seed, I can't get that out of my head. Now, it's unfair. It's 5 years ago at this point. I get that. But again, I don't know if they're a team that if they don't get the 1 seed, I don't know if they're capable of beating 3 really good teams in a row. Kind of like this version of Kansas City, where the only team, Cincinnati's the only team in the AFC right now. And I'm like, you know what? And it's weird to say about a team that looked awful at the beginning of the year. But with them right, with Burrow healthy, when it gets to December, they play. We know how great they play in the second half of seasons. They're the one team I would say, you know what? I trust them to go on the road to Arrowhead to beat the Chiefs. I trust them to go on the road to Baltimore to beat Baltimore. Everyone else, I don't really see it right now.
Yeah, and one of the things about that 2019 season from Lamar is he stayed very healthy. So I'm going to knock on wood very loud for him here. But that's where I think I start to get a little bit nervous because this team has, had some upsetting injuries. And I think that's played a part into this team's success. They can have some ugly fucking losses. Not that there is not a ton of teams that can. I think in the NFC, and I probably felt different a couple of weeks ago, but I kind of feel that way about the 49ers. I just feel like they're going to flirt with getting their hearts broken again. They're kind of that. It's a story as old as time.
I think they have a Brock Purdy problem. And I know you can argue that the last few weeks, Trent Williams not being there. No, Debo, I understand that. But look, Brock Purdy was the last pick in the NFL draft for a reason. He had problems. He's a smaller guy. He was accurate at the beginning of his career at Iowa State, but he got progressively worse as more teams got tape on him. Again, I love Sam Darnold as the person. Again, the mononucleosis point is still one of the funniest things. If it happens, if Purdy gets hurt or Purdy suffers another concussion and has to miss some time, I don't know if Darnold's the guy in order to push them forward. The NFC is very simple to me at this point.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is the best team in the conference.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of them staying healthy. And if they get home field throughout in the NFC, I don't see San Francisco going to Philadelphia and beating them in a playoff game. I definitely don't see Detroit going on the road and beating them in a playoff game. And then that kind of leaves Dallas, who's really talented and are familiar with Philly. Of course, they play this week, and I like the Eagles in that game.
Okay.
But I just have a hard time seeing McCarthy and Dak going on the road and winning a playoff game in Philadelphia. So I expect I feel pretty good about how the NFC looks.
I think I don't feel good about Dallas winning 2 playoff games in general, so I will not get behind that. I think that Dallas is who we think Dallas is. McCarthy has a lot of seasons where he's made it to the playoffs and not made it to a Super Bowl. He's a good coach for that in that sense, but history has proven to us that he can't always get the job done. It's not that he never has, but he can't always do that. The last team I'll ask you about before I let you get out of here, because I've stolen so much of your time, is the Seattle Seahawks. So they are up there right now. They made what people think is a splash move. I think it was a very fair move on both sides for the Giants and Seattle in Leonard Williams. I don't know that their defense is the issue there. I don't know if that's the move that you necessarily needed to make. But where are you at with Seattle?
They gave up too much for Leonard Williams, but they don't seem to care.
Yeah.
With that.
They never care. Yeah.
Leonard Williams, he's been on both of our favorite teams.
Yeah, of course.
When he wants to play, he's really good. But
when he gets paid.
Yeah, it shows up about half the time. Other than that, the biggest difference with Seattle's their defense. Where Seattle's defense last year was awful.
Yeah.
And now they're all right. You know what? They have 2 really good corners, even though it feels like Greek Woolen gets called for a massive penalty every week.
Every time.
Witherspoon's a stud.
I love him. I cannot believe he fell to where he fell. I was obsessed with him last year.
Yeah. Great player. Jamal Adams looks healthy, even though, again, I think Jamal Adams is overrated, but that's a different story for another day. And they rush the passer well, and Leonard Williams is only going to help that.
Yeah.
I still have questions about Geno. How good is Geno? We've seen flashes this year of the guy he was at the beginning of last year, especially that win in Detroit in week 2 and that last drive last week against Cleveland to come from behind to win that game. But then we've also seen the bad with Geno. Showed up in that Cleveland game. They showed up in other spots this year. So how good is Geno Smith? If we get a Geno that's close to the guy he was at the beginning of last year, they could make an NFC title game.
Yeah.
I don't see them going to Philadelphia and winning a playoff game, but they could make an NFC title game. Let's say they get the 3 seed. beat the 6 if they win. Just assuming if they win the NFC West.
Yeah.
Beat either San Francisco or Dallas at home. Go to Detroit, beat Detroit, and then lose to Philly. Sure.
Yeah.
The problem with them is if they get a wild card, going to Detroit in round 1 with that building on could be a problem. And if they have to go to San Francisco in a playoff game, they're just not beating the Niners on the road. That's just not
yeah. I think they could be like, I would be more nervous to face Seattle in the postseason than the regular season, I think. Do you have any last week 9 bets, like favorite bet that you have before I let you get out of here?
Favorite bet. Hold on. I am taking my phone out to just make sure that I get you the right number
I appreciate
that I got this week, because I've already played 2 in the NFL. One of them was I took the 3 early in the week was with your Giants.
Yes.
Now it's 2. I don't mind it, but who knows? It's always scary when you get a fired coach. You can get a really inspired effort from the opposing team. So that's a little bit hard. The only other thing I have in pocket right now is the Bengals. I got 1.5. It's 2.5, 3 in the market. I think it's good. I think that's a steamrolling this week. The Bengals, like we said, I'm high on them. They look like Parles finally healthy yet again. Yeah. And the Bills, I think, are going backwards. And if Allen's not 100% healthy, Amaruno will confuse him.
Yeah.
And we've seen Allen he's a turnover machine. As good of a player as he is, he's a turnover machine.
Yeah, he is.
2 turnovers from Allen. Since he wins by 2 touchdowns at least, a 2.5 I still think is good on the Bengals.
Yeah, I love it. You are the best. I'll have to get you back on soon. I wish I had you on for Jets Giants week, but then again, it wasn't exactly.
No, it was probably better that I wasn't on for Jets Giants week, because that game, look, I expected it to be sloppy as hell, but that was
way worse than I was expecting. Not what I was expecting at all. You are fantastic. Let everyone know where they can find you, subscribe, watch your show, all the deals.
Absolutely. So the new show is Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio, at South Point Studio on YouTube. Please, we need subscribers. Hit that subscribe button.
Head over there.
And again, we're 5 days a week, Thursday through Monday right now. The 6 o'clock Eastern on those weekday days that we're on, and then the weekends, 1 hour before kickoff for college football, 1 hour before kickoff before the NFL on Sunday. So it's myself, it's Alex White, who's a professional handicapper, and she also won Last Man Standing, which is a handicapping competition in college football out here in Vegas last year. So she is incredibly sharp. So we have a good time with it, though.
Yeah, I love it. I'll have to get you back on for some college stuff. Thank you so much. I'll let you get out of here.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me, Steph.
I'll let producer Ryan jump on here. He's going to yell at me a little bit because I ran over because I was so chatty, but that's because our guests were so good. So maybe we have to split the podcast into 2 because it was a good show.
No, I think it was good. I think it was a long, good show. I mean, people like it. People stuck around. They're still here. So we've got a few questions and we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Why did the Raiders not trade Jimmy G at the deadline? That's from our good friend, Jack Ellenbogen.
Yes.
I said Jack. It's Jake.
I was going to correct you, but I already corrected Nate on the rant. It's a lot of, I didn't want to keep correcting people. Because they're not smart enough to think that far in the future. So I don't think that they knew they were going to fire who they did and what they did. So I think that they now know. And I said this again, if you've been watching the show, you know this from preseason where I talked about this with the Commanders and the Raiders. They were going to get to the trade deadline and they were going to look at their record, look at what they have and decide, can we actually make a playoff run? Do we need to look at the draft? Do we have our guy in Jimmy G? Do we have our guy in Sam Howell? And they looked at it and they looked at their schedule and saw that game that we all just witnessed that was disgusting, despite how it was a little bit closer than I expected. But I think if they knew that the outcome was going to be that, he probably wouldn't be there. But yeah, I just don't think that they were thinking that far ahead.
Probably wasn't a lot of great trade offers either.
No, I mean, again, like
he hasn't been good this year.
He's got to be in a good system. So, and unfortunately, the Raiders, for some reason, always forget that they have not been a good system.
Next question from Coach Sean Bell. Bigger fraud of a head coach, 2009 to 2010, Josh McDaniels in Denver versus 2022 to 2023, Josh McDaniels Vegas.
God, I mean, they were both absolutely vile. I think him maybe is a little bit bigger of a fraud that a team actually paid this fucking man again. He's very rich, though. 4 years, he's getting paid out the rest of this contract. I probably would take, which is worse for the Raiders, probably might be the Denver year, but it's a toss-up.
I was going to say the Raiders just because he at least took Denver to playoffs.
Yeah,
with
that's true.
Tim Tebow.
Okay, you're right. You're right. I think that, 2022, 2023. I forgot Jeff Saturday game, like we talked about. Like, I think that his reign at the Raiders has been horrible. And he doesn't know what to do when he's not familiar with players. He brought over Jacoby Myers, brought over Jimmy G. Like, he had everything. There's some nice pieces over on the Raiders. So I will agree with you.
Yeah. I have happy memories of the meme Tebowing. So I still love
my God.
Are you too young to remember Tebowing?
No, I remember Tebowing, yes.
From Full Slate Podcast, do I bet the Raiders this week with the interim head coach angle?
We just all make up angles at this point. Yeah, I feel like there's also, you could say, the angle that they're on a short week and they just fired all these people. So is there an angle to that? I think there's something to it. I don't like the Giants as much as I did after this, because again, we don't know what it's going to look like. It's very sad that a former Giants player is going to be the coach. I feel like I'm being punked. Like, I feel like Ashton Kutcher is going to walk out and that's not actually who they're going to have coaching the game. But that's because they knew that they were also firing their OC, which they did earlier today. So you can, do you feel really confident watching that Raiders game? I'm not betting on the Raiders. I'm not betting on the Giants. I just take the under in this game and walk away.
There you go. Okay. And then the last thing is I have my NBA bet.
Yes. B-ball producer Ryan. Let's see what you got. Ryan, I meant to tell you. Did you see? I had one NBA bet last night. It was a parlay, 3-leg parlay, and I hit it.
Oh, congratulations. I missed that. I was very distracted by my own bets, which weren't as good last night. Okay. But
you got good ones tonight for me.
I am loving this one right now. All right. I'm going to take your Nets plus 6.5 versus the Heat. The Heat are never good as a home favorite. Since 2020, as a home favorite, they're 49-62-4. Last season, they were 14-26-2 as a home favorite. So I like the fading the Heat at home as a home favorite. And I also like taking Scotty Barnes over 2.5 turnovers. Okay. Since Fred VanVleet was traded, he's had the ball in his hand more. He's only not hit that once this season. And one game, he had 7 turnovers in just one game. So Scotty Barnes, very turnover prone. Go ahead and smash that over.
Love it.
2.5. There you go.
Gosh.
I felt like that was the closest thing to a Stephie Smalls special.
It was.
And I feel like
maybe there's something to parlaying the Giants and Nets together. I'm not going to be the one to do it, but you could do it. Maybe it would be fun. Maybe I'll have a good week. I'll feel more confident if the Nets win. They won their last game. Cam Thomas looks freaking awesome too. But we'll get out of here. Almost an hour and a half. I haven't shut the fuck up the entire time. So we'll get out of here. We'll be back Friday. I posted on my Twitter. We can post it again in the description. Made a start over Survivor League. Get in that before tomorrow night. $10 entry. You can have 3 max entries. Hit the like button, subscribe, go review us on, we got to get the reviews up on the podcast too. So head over to Spotify, Apple, whatever you like to listen to the podcast, and we'll get out of here and see you Friday.
Watch them make it, break it, break it, break it.